Hey everybody. Hey all you Mustangs. I bet uh, you're really feeling excited and tired at this point of the quarter. I always think of week 9 as the time period when students are still tired when they wake up the next day because their brains are so filled with information that it's easy to have this feeling that your brain isn't able to process stuff even while you're sleeping. So if you're at the I wake up tired and have to keep going stage of the game, you're right on time. It's week 9. Week 9 does not have a lot of heavy lifting for you, and I think you'll be grateful for that. But you do need to be on a continual quest for your own sources, for your paper. All right? I don't think there's ever a time when we go until you hit submit when we really feel confident that we've added enough or the right information in our papers. It's just sort of built into the process. All right, so you do have 2 different library workshops this week. One is a data visualization workshop. And in this tutorial, the instructors teach you how to identify data sets and then what's the best way to display them in a paper. For example, would you want to use a bar chart, a pie chart, or some other kind of graph? So visualizing data and how it influences or not readers is a really important part of our field in our paper, an important field, data visualization. You know, it's one thing you and I have both been through this where we read a big string of data and we're like, oh my gosh, that's just overwhelming. It's all numbers. What does it all mean? That's when the ability to visualize the data helps your reader assimilate the information. All right, my next component, this really should say why include images, and I'll probably change that. Why include visuals, images in a research paper? All right, so some of the things you might not think about is that images in a paper, even something as kind of lofty and academic as a research paper, can still rely on images, charts, graphs, things like that. The images that you select or the charts will increase your pathos if you need it to, or maybe you need more ethos or logos. So you can include these images to address rhetorical strategies that you want to implement in your paper. All right. So I wanted to show you the images that your cohorts found the last, a couple quarters ago, and just show you how cool is it that they found these images. These are the different students. Let's see, they're talking about different things in here, but you can see some of them looked for charts, classroom wall color preferences. This one here, maybe the nuclear industry safety accident rate. What about this one here? Wow, what's going on here? So however you decide, to pick a topic, you want to try and explain what it's doing, okay? So these are samples for you from a previous section, and I think they're really, really helpful. I mean, you can almost guess what they might be writing on after looking at their pictures. Of course, the next link then will be for you. I need to unlock that to submit your own picture or chart or graph that you plan to perhaps use in your paper. Okay. The component that follows that one, let me get back out. Sorry, let me get back out here to some of them aren't unlocked. So let me get over to the right component, week 9. Sorry, this is, if you're wondering what goes on behind the scenes, here it is, me scrolling through a zillion links. Okay, so the library workshop that you're going to attend, Finding, Using, and Citing Images, will ultimately help you generate a picture that you are going to then upload into the discussion. All right, so your image is going to be driving your discussion. Okay, so let me reiterate. Data visualization library tutorial has a little short workbook with it that you will submit. The images one, you submit a picture. Okay, I don't believe it's a library workbook. It's a more, hey, can you find an end product, the picture or graph, and explain why you want to use it, perhaps. Okay, that's what this discussion will be. Maybe you can make comments on your peers' pictures, not just, oh, I like it, but, oh, I can also see how you could use it for blah, blah, blah to increase your own credibility. So I would love it if you would help your peers optimize the use of visual images that they're thinking of including. The last part of the upcoming week is all about the outline. Remember, you are turning in your annotated bibliography Tuesday of this week, not the outline. The outline is just being introduced to you. It's not due until next week. Notice it's not due until March 14th. So you'd have over the whole weekend. You can turn it in if you're ready, but you don't need to turn it in until March 14th. Okay, I know you have a ton of other things going on, so watch your calendar and try and keep up with things. The outline, I've got, well, first of all, I wanted to explain, let me back up 1 second about the library images, finding images. Not every topic is going to necessitate an image. For example, I had a student last quarter writing about the foster system, the foster child system, and what happens, the trajectory of a foster child who ages out. In other words, while they're under 18, they have certain, maybe access to resources. However, there's some pretty dire information out there about what happens after they turn 18 and age out of the system. Now, what would look good in there is a chart that maybe shows, some of this movement, or maybe the lack of things, or things are being reduced, or something that kind of shows a bar graph or pie chart picture of the foster child's movement through the system. What you wouldn't want is just a random picture of a foster child. Okay, so you can see how picking an image is important. It needs to have a strategy behind it, not just to fill space. And speaking of filling space, you also want to remember that an image size isn't meant to take up space. Yes, it will take up space, but that's not its purpose. You want to make it small enough that your reader can, maybe because we all look at things on screens now, can I still kind of enlarge it and see the details, or is it over pixelated? Something like that. You want to think of an image as you would, say, a block quote. It's taking up space. Is it giving you back? Is it a good payback for taking up valuable space? In other words, you don't just drop in a quote that just takes space but doesn't really add. The same thing would happen with images. Same with sizes. If extra long quote is not necessarily more effective than a small, well-chosen, nugget from the research you're reading. Okay, so I just wanted to comment on size. Also, let's see, what else did I want to mention here? I want to mention something about the outline before I close out this screencast. I know the outline, a lot of you have written an outline, and I'm not a big fan of this, I'm not as comfortable, let me say a big fan. I'm not as comfortable with Roman numerals and all that because, I don't know, I'm just going to confess, I'm an English teacher and I have a really hard time thinking that letters could be numbers. It freaks me out. So there are a variety of ways that you can write this research paper. I think the more information you can provide, the better, but that doesn't mean you need to overload the outline. Your outline, you don't want it so big that you might as well have just started writing a paper, So the outline has a job to do. It is a working plan for you, and it can show your professor or someone else. Let's say you were going to propose this to an employer. Well, a lot of times they can look at an outline and see what your maybe an outline of something you haven't even written, like now, and get a sense of where you began, where you are, and what you plan to find. Okay, so an outline should be able to be read coherently by others and yet be a working document for you. So the outline is like your roadmap. One of the things I do hear students comment regularly across my entire career has been the more time they spend on the outline, the less time they spend writing the actual paper. And that is the truth, people. If you've got a well-designed outline where you've really thought about the organization, what you should talk about first, and then what you should leave out, and where your concession should be, you can move bits and pieces of an outline around. But once you start writing a paper, it's a lot harder to move chunks of text around and remember, okay, wait, where did this come from? I want to go back to what I had. That doesn't sound good there. The outline gives you the ability to organize your information, and so your brain won't be performing organizational efforts when you are writing the paper, because your brain already knows where everything is because you have a well-designed outline. All right, well, another thing I want to say about the outline, it takes longer than you think to make it. It seems like it would be, oh, it's not really writing, it's just putting stuff in spaces and then, making it organized. And yes, that is what it is. However, it takes, if you think it's going to take you an hour, double it. All right. I think these outlines take anywhere from 2 to 3 hours to create. So don't start it, 20 minutes before the upload time. A good outline and a good scoring outline is going to take about 2 hours to produce. So the great part is, as I stressed, you are doing all that heavy lifting with the mental work of analysis and organizing. Where do things go? And how is my reader going to make their way through this paper? You're doing all that kind of dirty, heavy lifting before you start the paper. So, once you start the paper, it's smooth sailing for you. Okay, so that's what's coming down the pipeline for week 9. I think it's completely manageable. Again, if any of these links that seem okay on my side, even in student view, if they're glitchy, please email me right away. And I'll get on it as soon as I can. I also want to encourage you to keep the faith. These component pieces are the most heavily weighted components of the entire course. As I stated in an email, by this time of the quarter, a professor can say with some confidence, the students have been practicing, refining these skills, and now they're ready to really apply them in the most sophisticated paper they've written this quarter. So these piece parts they're expensive in a sense because they are more heavily weighted. So you need to try and score. Obviously, we all try and score our highest, but you need to keep in mind that they are heavily weighted. So your attention to detail and the rubric is essential so that you can attain the grade that you want in this class. All right, everybody, don't forget, I have office hours. I always love it when you show up. If you are going to show up in my office hour because you've got questions about an assignment, please come prepared for that. I mean, you will have already tried to solve your own problems before you come to me. You kind of come to me as a last-ditch effort, like, hey, I really don't see what part of this thing is wordy. I will show you exactly where that is. Or sometimes I'll just go back in and add more comments to a previous paper that helps explain it. All right, everybody, I'm proud of you. I'm coming on hard on a lot of these missed due dates that people are emailing me. So I decided to make the prospectus the annotated bibliography, when you submit it, it has its actual submission date, but I'll leave it open a couple of days, but you're going to get penalized. Okay. So it's not that I won't accept it late. It's that it will have a penalty, like a 20-point penalty. So the penalty is kind of, I think, strict enough that if I was the student, I wouldn't want to pay the penalty. I'd want to get that paper in on time. All right, everybody, I'm your ally. Please don't think I'm against you. I'm on your side. I'm helping prepare you to be the strongest version of you that you can be for your journey through Cal Poly. All right, take care, everyone, and I will see you in the office.